Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of the Midweek Motivation. As you know, every Wednesday, right around 12 noon Eastern Time, I come to you live with another word that's designed to inspire you, give you hope, encouragement, even some correction sometimes. And it's a word that God has given me to share with you. So thank you for joining me today. Please share this message. If you're on Facebook, share it and like it. If you are on YouTube, like the video and be sure to subscribe to the channel and tell someone about the channel, and tell someone if you're on Facebook that we go live right here every week. I appreciate you so much. All right, let's jump into the message for today, which is going to come from the Gospel of Mark. Mark chapter 11, verses 20 through 25, and I'm going to share from the New King James Version. Now in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. And Peter, remembering, said to him, and him is Jesus, "Look, Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you cursed has withered away." So Jesus answered and said to them, because these are the disciples, "Have faith in God. For assuredly I say unto you, whoever says to this mountain, be removed and cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says will be done, he will have whatever he says. Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them." And then verse 25, which is our key verse for today. "And whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, that your Father in heaven may also forgive you your trespasses." Now, this is a favorite passage of mine. I love verses 22, 23, and 24, particularly because it relates to faith and belief. So if we're standing in faith for something, we've got to believe that we have it, right? But 25, sometimes we skip it or we stop at verse 24. And I want to focus on verse 25 today, that says that we are to forgive when we are praying. So the word for today is forgive. Now, each of us has been wronged in some way at some point in our lives, right? By someone. That thing that someone did may have been small or may have been such a big thing that it has negatively impacted our lives, and something that we have had to recover from. But no matter how big or how small, no matter who did it, why they did it, when they did it, no matter any of those things, Jesus commands us to forgive. So that is not a suggestion. And in this verse 25, Jesus say, when you pray, so while you are praying, we should also be forgiving those who we might be holding something against because they've done something to us. And when we forgive, our Father will also forgive our trespasses. That is what the word says. Now, Jesus, who's our ultimate example, demonstrated forgiveness while he was being crucified. In Luke chapter 23, verse 34, he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." That's one of the 7 sayings that Jesus says while he's on the cross, sometimes known as the 7 last sayings or 7 last words. So we can pray that prayer too. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. It's the spirit on the inside of them that's causing them to wrong us. And so we can pray that same prayer that Jesus prayed. And we release, just like Jesus is doing as he's hanging on the cross, he's releasing what is happening to him and allow God to handle whatever consequences that might come as a result of what is being done to you, this act. And it doesn't matter how saved a person is or how saved we are, there are still consequences to sin, period, right? So we give those consequences over to God, and we let God mete out the justice that we're deserved because of the things that were done to us or said about us. The other point I want to make about forgiveness is this: we decide to forgive. Forgiveness is a decision. And I learned this many years ago from one of my favorite Bible teachers, Joyce Meyer. And what she teaches is that we decide to forgive, and then our feelings have to catch up to the decision that we've made. So it may take a little time for our feelings to line up with our decision, but we first say, this is what I'm going to do. I decide to forgive. And then God works in us so that our feelings slowly will be able to change so that they line up with the decision that we've made to forgive. Forgiveness is God's will. And if we allow him to work in our lives, he will let our feelings, he will help us so that our feelings will line up with our decision. Now, what does making a decision to forgive do? It lifts a burden off of us so that we are free. We're not harboring any negative thoughts about that person. In fact, we can pray for them, and as we're praying for them, God is shifting our hearts toward them so that we begin to see them in a different light, in the way God created them. So our thoughts toward that person can even shift. That might be a difficult thing to really grasp, but I promise you it is true. So as I begin to close, I want to ask a question. Who do you need to forgive today? I encourage you to make the decision to forgive and allow God to minister to your heart as you manage those feelings that have come as a result of what has happened. Let him handle the consequences that will come to the other person as a result of what has been done, and allow God to grow you in this area so you can become more and more like our example, our big brother, Jesus Christ. So that's the word for today. It's forgive. I pray that's been a blessing to you.